everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Pedro Baeza from Tecnativa, the CTO from this company that are implementing Odoo for several years and come from the joint from several experts with more years in Open ERP and Odoo. And I'm going to try to show you my usual flows on the daily routine, my daily routine with OCA. So that can serve you as good practices, practices, because it's the practices that serves me. And also, this can serve as a walkthrough to the OCA contribution flows. So let me start with this GitHub. This is our main hub for doing all the interaction. GitHub is a social network, a development social network, but the key part is social. We can share, talk, etc. Here in GitHub, and we use it a lot for both Odoo itself, the core developed by Odoo SA, and for OCA. Here you are seeing the OCA host. OCA is an organization inside GitHub, as GitHub allows individuals and organizations. So we created some time ago, some years ago, this organization to host all of the OCA modules and collaboration. Here you can see a lot of repositories, 200. This is a very high number. This is because we have a lot of things. We have a lot of modules. So here you can see all of them, and you can find for anything. How do we work with these repositories? Well, there is not a strict classification. Sometimes we don't know how to classify things, because they can be hosted in one place, but also in another, because it's a mix of things. So think that there is no strict classification, and it's also another reason more for debating. We have a lot of debates, and this is another. I always take one image, joke image that happened here. Let me search for it. I don't remember right now naming things. Looking for this, we find it easily. And this is the picture I always put for highlighting this problem. It's for naming. It's not seeing complete. Not sure right now why. Well, the important thing is here. This is a survey that was done in Quora, a website for questions and answers, and all the developers said that the most difficult task is to name, to put a name to things. More even than developing, estimating, and so on. And yes, this is a joke, but it's also a thing, because it's not easy to classify and to put proper names. So the debate is served. When you put a module here, expect to have a debate about the name and so on. And there is no ideal name, ideal classification, but we try to achieve the best. Said that, you can see in the page of OCA, which is odoo/community.org, we have a page for classifying the current PSC. What is a PSC? The PSC is the acronym for Project Steering Committee, and it's a organization or a team for trying to split the work inside OCA. The idea of these teams is to have a isolated area of work. As said, this is not simply because in an ERP everything is connected, but you can see in this page that is accessible through this URL or using the menu that it's not always simple. Here it is, the association PSC teams. So you can see that the areas we have delimited are more or less logic. We have three. We can see that we have three types of PSC. One is the PSC per area. The APP, the application, the area of work, accounting, banking, brand, data protection, etc. We can have here all the topics you can imagine. Another possible category are the vertical ones, that are those that are focused on a specific type of business. For example, those that are associations will need probably modules from other areas, but specifically some things that other type of businesses don't need. So there are a specific PSC for these areas. And finally, we have the localization teams or PSC. This one is very focused because they specialize on the specific needs for the country. It's not so clear what is specific for a country because, for example, we have the SEPA payments that are used across all Europe. So this is not something specific for Spain, for France, for Italy, or so on. They are for all Europe. So sometimes you have to think this need is only for Spain, only for this country, or it can be something that other can use. So answering this question will lead you to put things on the localization repository or in a more general one. For now, we only have for localization repositories or PSC for countries. There is, for example, there is not, for example, a PSC repository for Europe. There is also not for South America, Latin, or so on. Nothing prevents us to do it, but we haven't done it yet because there are not enough content to fill these repositories. So this is the basic structure. So you can navigate through this more pleasant view, or use directly the GitHub search interface for locating something. For example, if you type sale, you will find several repos for repositories for the sale workflow. Workflow is not for the sale area. All of them, these three, are behind the same PSC, this one. If we navigate through it, we can see that they are under the same, not behind, under the same PSC. Why? Because they are the work area is similar. We have a split for not having a repository with a lot of modules, but they are under the same PSC. You can see here that these are the declared team members and representatives. I didn't remember that I was the representative for this, so it seems so. Who are these people? These people are those that have expressed interest in some kind of coordination of this area. This is a meritocracy, which means that you have to make merits to be here. This means also that you have some privilege for being in this PSC. What are these privileges? You can merge pull requests. You can directly do maintenance commits if needed. It's not the usual flow, but sometimes it's needed because Travis is broken, there is a problem that needs to be fixed ASAP, or so on. So these people have that rights in GitHub. It also implies responsibility. As Spiderman says, a great power implies. So all these things, it's also here. If you are of this PSC, you have to take care about these repositories' health. They are maintained. If someone writes an issue or put a pull request, you can guide them to lead to a success, or the issue is solved, the PR is merged, or so on. I have introduced here a word, PR, that is the acronym also for pull request. I haven't talked yet about pull request, but basically it is a code inclusion that you are proposing. It can be a patch of one line, or it can be a full module that contains thousands of lines. Okay, the pull request is only the proposal. We will talk later more about pull requests and guidelines also about that. So it's interesting that you have interest in being part of one of these PSC. Which one? Those that are of your area that you are working, or so on. I said you need to first do merits for being here. How? Well, participating in the community, doing PRs, reviewing the PRs, and so on. There is also the feeling that this is only for technical people, being on GitHub and so on, and this is a half truth. You need some technical knowledge. Which technical knowledge? How to work with GitHub. GitHub is a platform that you need to know, the same as you learn, for example, Facebook. It has their menus, their features, their tools, and so on. So you need to learn this. It's not the most friendly one, but it's also very straightforward. So I don't think that it's a real problem for functional people and so on. The next barrier can be to learn to speak the same language. Well, you don't need sometimes to speak the same language. A functional person can propose features or can expose problem in a module talking in a functional language. Not saying this line of code is incorrect because there is a loop, or no. You can say there is a problem when you do these steps. But here is the main problem we have also, not only on Odoo, on OCA or so, but in this world. What my colleagues call it STR. I don't know if this is something that can be, well, it's a usual acronym. We use a lot of acronyms, but what it means is the way we can reproduce this problem to be able to diagnose the problem. That you have a problem in your current installation, your custom DB with a lot of modules, doesn't mean that the problem is on the specific module that you are putting the issue or so on. And it's not easy. You know that your users, most of you are implementators, are integrators, and have your customers that reports you some problem. And the typical problem that Odoo is not working. How do you take this? That's something that cannot be easily debugged, we can call it. We need something more specific. And here in OCA, we have more added problems because people don't isolate the module for doing the test, so the problem can come from other custom module, other OCA module, but not this one. Sometimes there are incompatibilities between modules, or the instance is simply outdated. So being technical or being functional, all these things, technical things, have to be taken into account. And I think it makes you better in your job. If you are a consultant, but you are able to differentiate when there is a problem, where is the source, you will make half of the work. You will be able sometimes to solve yourself the problem, but if not, you will be able to guide the needed people, the people that is going to fix the problem, to the focusing them to the problem. So I'm always the bad guy when someone put an issue. I have a problem in a module with an error, an stack trace with no steps, and I'm always, or usually, the bad guy saying, this is not enough, so if you don't put more information, I will close it, or I close it directly, because I know that the problem is not on the OCA module, but on deployment part and so on. And this is what why I'm saying that you need a minimum set of skills. There is also another thing that people don't take it very good, but I said I'm the bad guy. So I put sometimes this link. Not sure if this is what I'm looking for. No. How to make another question? How to? I know it in Spanish, but not in English. There is a. Let me. This is not good rephrase. This one is the good one. How to make answers, questions in the smart way, and it contains a link to the English version. I don't find where is the English version. Not here. Well, I can search for it later. The idea is to focus each one on the things they do efficiently. If you unfocus the things to be to distract people, what you can get is no answer, or bad answers, or even a close of the issue because it's not enough documented. We have an example. It's the nature of the human being. We have an example right now in the Discord channel. About 40 people, no, not 40, but 20 people have asked if if these talks is going to be recorded, where it has been asked and answered 20 lines above. For me, that's not a way to ask in a smart way, because in this case it's very simple. The answer is yes. You don't need too much time. But imagine something a bit more complex. You have to, if you don't make that previous search, that doesn't need you too much time for that, you can have several cases. Well, the answer, the question is answered, so you already have it. But imagine this one. Half of your doubts are answered, but not the other half. Not searching for this half makes you do the full question, and the people that have answered for that half part, maybe they are tired of explaining everything again, and you have lost the possibility of having this half answer that is not yet answered because of not filtering up a bit your question. So please think a bit about this, and when you need to make a question, do this little research. This makes people like me to think, well, this person has already tried some things, research, and so on. He or she deserves an answer. If not, I can say, well, everyone is very busy. Do your job, and don't try to get free support from my part. Okay, said that, I know I'm a bit hard with this, but I think that with this reasoning you can understand me a bit more now, being the big guy, the bad guy. So let's continue. Let's continue with the repos. We have one of these repos selected. How can you start contributing? Contributing is not putting a lot of line of code inside OCA. Another thing, I'm not attending chat, so if there is a question done in the chat, Jordi or anyone that is assisting me here, please open your microphone and tell me.
Pedro.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
No, I'm saying that I'm not attending the chat. So if if there is any question, right now I'm seeing and I'm okay.
No, there are no questions so far.
Pedro, can you hear me?
Simone, very low. Your microphone is very low.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I wrote you a message to try to move the Zoom window.
Okay, yeah. I'm directly closing that window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. Better. Good. Thank you.
If I can add in, yeah, I suggest attendees, if you have a question, you raise your hand. You have a button at the bottom, and then Pedro, if he, or a moderator can ask you to do the question on the right moment. Thank you.
Yeah, you have put, Daniel, a very good sentence about what I have now said about the proportional effort of the answer depending on the effort put on the question. So if you put This doesn't work. It doesn't take you so much time. My answer would require the same time. Not enough information. Okay, so that can be also a good sentence that summarizes all of these things that I'm talking about. Okay, thanks for the inline comments. Let's continue. I have entered in one of these repositories, still in GitHub. As I was saying, you can contribute in many ways. There is no only code contribution. It can be the most frequent one, and those that means the highlight one, but there is also very valuable contribution outside code. I would suggest you first to subscribe to your areas of interest. For example, I can be in this repository, and on the top right part, you have an icon of an eye that allows you to follow, to subscribe to this repository. You can select not watching, the default for you when you start. Releases only on OCA is not being used, so this one doesn't serve for anything. And watching. Well, watching is to be subscribed to all things that happens on this repository. All things are pull requests, their comments, issues, their comments, the merge of pull requests, a new branch, all of these. This one should be, it's more or less the default for the areas you want to participate. Ignoring is a special one for never having any notification, because this one, if you are mentioned with the add character, you will be notified. There is also a way to be only notified for specific things, but I have never go inside of this advanced configuration. I think it's not needed. There is not too much noise on specific records for you to require to silence several notifications. There is the risk, if you subscribe to too much repositories, to have a lot of mails, a lot of notification. That's my case, for example, that I'm subscribed to everything. So you can see here that right now I have 226 notifications. I use Gmail, as you can see, for handling the task to do in here, because I have the tab notifications that group all the notifications from GitHub. So this is very useful for me for classifying things. You can see here that I have in my main tray the private things that I'm not going to disclose, but in this tab, I have all the GitHub activity. Most of the activity can not from OCA, but from Odoo itself. Odoo, the core developed by Odoo SA, has a specific repository. Under Odoo organization, the repository Odoo. Subscribing to this is very heavy. You will receive about 100 of notifications per day. It depends on the Odoo activity and so on, but I have to admit that it's heavy. For what is this useful? If you want to stay online about the things that happen on the core. For that, for not being mad, I use a so-called that I have invented the name, the 5 seconds rule. This rule basically consists in discriminating in 5 seconds about the notification. This time serves me for not distracting from other tasks, and even right now, talking with you, I can access one of the notifications and decide three things. This one can be discarded because I'm not interested on this. That it's the case for this one. I'm not interested in that one. The second case, it's something that that can be useful, and it's important to say something quick that can be reacted in that moment, because it doesn't take me too much. For example, an extra minute. I see a pull request that has been put by anyone, and in a quick glance, in that 5 seconds site, I'm seeing that it's not preserving commit history. Well, I can access. Let me. This one is not a new pull request, but imagine I have seen this, and this is an issue, in fact. But I click here. I have my reply about preserving commit history, and I answer this. It takes me very few moments. I'm not distracting from my main task because it takes me less than a minute, and I can continue. And I have already put something that can guide the pull request, the issue, or so on, for not doing work without that is not going to work. Or sometimes I have detected duplicate features, and I have mentioned there is another module that do something similar, or so on. So this is my interaction. For this level of interaction, it requires that you know a lot about OCA and so on. But it can be a way to work with the notifications. And you can see here that my colleague has put a comment in live for this. So this serves for me. Other people maybe get distracted with this flow. This is my secret also for those that know me, for answering very quick to the things that happen to OCA. It's not any minion that I have hired. It's only that I interrupt my flow for this kind of low or short interruption that allows me to continue. I said not everyone can fit to this flow, but this is also something that can be trained. You can train about this. First time, you will need more time and you will get more distracted. But when you do it frequently, you will get used to this, and it's a way to not leave things unattended. For the rest, you have to decide your flow. But I don't like the approach of the OCA review day. This is a tweet that every Friday is put on OCA Twitter timeline, that I think nobody knows where it comes from, because it was set up a lot of time ago, and now we cannot verify. But I don't like that flow. Why? Because having a week between each interaction is too much time. Not everyone is following that flow. Yourself is not, you are not remembering what you do last week. So I prefer a more continuous integration, continuous interaction here. Some middle possibilities, flows, to instead of a review day, make a review hour each day. So you distribute the time per day. so you don't pass too much time between each interaction with GitHub. Another rule, I have talked about two possibilities. The one that is discarded automatically, the one that you answer very quick about that, or the last one that is, well, this is important, I need to focus on this, and but it requires time. So I let it in my tray for later attendance, for attending this later. There is a risk with this that you let a lot of things and they get stuck and not attended. So the other part that I have talked right now about dedicating some time each day or each week, but dedicating that time, not outside your business working time. That's another of the problems that maybe is not in your hands. I don't know if you are developers, consultants, or you are owners of your business. But if you don't, at business level, at header decision makers, you don't consider OCA in your flow, you will be doomed to not being up to date all of the features, all the possibilities you can have for your installations. So it's a business key thing to dedicate time inside your business working time to OCA. That's my my way of thinking. But this way of thinking has been ratified by our expertise and our time here that have allowed us to grow fast, to grow now. And it's not always growing fast, but growing in a good way. We are now 11 people, but we are serving a lot of customers with a so not very big team. Why? Because we rely on OCA, but we rely not leeching the modules, but interacting with OCA and using that synergies. It's very important to include in your flows, in your business flows, OCA. So if you have that business time, you will know the modules that people are proposing, the interaction that happen, the possible problem. For example, I benefit directly from one thing that happened the other day on Q repository. This one is for handling an asynchronous queue for executing jobs. And Localization Teams, our beloved college, put an issue about a problem that he had on one installation. Seeing this issue, answering about it, doing some tips, leads me to fix a problem that I have in another installation. Was not directly related, but with this query, I get the tip for knowing that problem. So if I wasn't in this notification, in these flows, I possibly need a lot of time to debug and get to the problem. So being in community reduces your maintenance burden, both because OCA modules are checked by more eyes, they have infrastructure to test the quality, and there is people that can assist you. And this must be a quid pro quo thing. You need to give something for residing. I'm not answering with the same spirit, the same efforts to someone that is collaborating each day, like Legacy Brain, that's someone that writes for the first time, demanding help and saying, how can it be that a module is not working? What kind of jobs are you doing? Well, this kind of person deserves an immediate closing of the issue, sincerely. Because it's not the way to, the net etiquette is relative, not relative. You know that writing things, that things can be misunderstood. But one thing is misunderstanding, and another directly to ask or to demand something that you don't have rights to do it, because you are nobody here. You haven't contributed. Are you demanding things? So don't take it this bad. It's only the mindset about how I confront this kind of thing. So I sometimes go to side topics, but let's focus again in this. I have talked about the notification and about my rule of handling this notification. So think about this and find your balance on what do you want to get notified, the way to handle that notification. But it's important that if you are not the decision maker for dedicating time to OCA, please transmit and transfer these bits of advices that I'm having here and giving here for trying to convince your bosses to dedicate that. The business, your business will improve for sure. Okay, so we have been notified. What we have here, we have basically two things: issues and pull requests. Issues, what is? It's a place where you can put or problems or what we call it RFC, request for comments. That is a way to ask for a debate about a new feature, a new module, or so on. What is not allowed here is to ask questions. There is issues that put, how do I install this module? No, the issue tracker is not for this, or it shouldn't be. There is sometimes a caritative soul, someone that say, hey, well, I'm going to make this gift and answer that. But we have to focus on for what is this valid. If we convert this into a forum, we will have the following problem. The same problem that I have said about the question about if the talks are going to be recorded. You make one question, how to install the module. Somebody answer, and of course the question is answered. You close that question, and another people, and that people should are usually lazy, don't search for this issue, and they close it. And they, they do the same one. So you get an unfocused effort, because you have to point to the close issue, you have to write the same question, or even disturbing us for asking this that is out of the scope, because you should know how to install the module. It's not OCA focused to teach you that. We can teach you how to contribute, or you can have a legit question that is a feature question. I have tried this module, but I see that it's not possible to do this. Is something planned? That's a valid question. It's an RFC question. So when I close this kind of question, it's because of that, to focus. We have a better tool for handling questions, that is Odoo forums. We have that forums. We can have an opinion about if the tool is well tuned or not, but the tool for that question is this one. Why? Because the topics remain there. They are also classified, categorized. They are highlighted, and so on. So the place to do that questions is the forum, not the issue tracker. Issue tracker is for notifying problems, and we come back again to the steps to reproduce thing. If you are putting here a problem, please put it with all the possible things to find that problem. If not, it's barely impossible to help you, even if we want, because it's if you don't say how to do it, we are not. I don't have the right word. Adivinos. We are not the guessers of the problem. Okay, so please try to follow this. About pull request, this is the code part. A pull request is directly a proposal to include some code. So here we have a convention on the name. Not everyone follows this convention, but there is one. You have here some convention that this is shared everywhere in the repository README, in OCA website, everywhere. But if someone wants to put it on the chat, you can copy and paste in the chat. Anyone wants to say something? No? I heard a microphone. Okay, I continue. And there is also Odoo guidelines that are also mentioned there. Odoo guidelines, here we have. And here there is about the commit message, where it is. Commit message is not, here it is. Here we have a convention about this. So if you stick to this convention, please mute your microphone. There is someone that is not muted and is doing some noise. It's not very bad, but is there. There it is. So if you stick to that convention, will help people to identify what are you doing. So it's not the same to put this is a fix and the version and the module that putting update init .py. What that means. So please take some time to do this. That is not too much time, but helps a lot to identify and to also make people willing to review your pull request. Okay, it's also important for yourself when the past time, if you don't put a good commit message, when you come back to that commit, you won't know what was the problem that you solved. And you can be in a regression, you can be on on the doubt that if that patch is correct or not. So it's important that you take some time to document that kind of things. Okay. As said, a pull request can be very few lines, like this one. You can see here that this one, it's only changing one line. That's why it's a fix, because it's a problem that is there, and I already know about this problem. I already approve it, and you can see. And I'm going to take, this is my the privilege I have. I can right now launch this this command that is going to merge these pull requests? There is only one review, mine, but being a PSC of this repo, I know that this is good, and it's a problem that needs to be solved ASAP, as soon as possible. So I have decided to not wait for the usual flow, that is to have 2 reviews. Why is this flow here? But the idea is to ensure that the chain is correct. And this follows the principle of 2 eyes or 4 eyes see more than 2 eyes. No? As more eyes that is seeing something, more possibilities of discovering a problem. These reviews is not something mandatory. People think that doing a contribution, doing a pull request, they have the right to demand a contribution. And that's not true. You are doing a part of a contribution, and it's good, and we thank you about that contribution. But that contribution is only half of the flow. You need reviewers, and qualified reviewers. It doesn't serve that you tell 2 partners, 2 colleges, please put an approval. No, that is not going to serve. Sometimes you support on your colleges for that, but they need to do a sincere review, trying things, or at least checking the code. This one is very easy, and the approval can be approved code review. I have only reviewed the code, but seeing the code, it's enough to say this is going to work, because the problem has been exposed here. You don't have to write too much. You can see that in 2 lines, this is okay. He is saying, if you have section or notes on sale order lines, obviously you need to know what are section and what are notes. And you can say, hey, that lines doesn't have, don't have taxes. So it's logical that we don't put that exception when they are of this type. So doing a code review sometimes is enough. Other times we need a functional review. We will see later how. But don't make lobby with this, because it's very easy to detect these patterns. And also, you can ask for reviews if you have made some reviews on other pull requests. Imagine these people, this person, don't have any review and have passed 20 days. If you don't review other things, you can demand for another. So you can go to pull request, see another one. Oh, this one is okay, so. Or it requires some change. So you put it, and can you please review mine in as exchange? And you point your pull request. So that's something feasible and something proportional. You have to balance your contribution to one part or another. If not, this is what is happening. You can see here 164 pull requests that are not merged, because people only do the pull request, but don't worry about the other part. And the other part is also important. We have detected a lot of things reviewing pull requests. And also, in your business culture, you have to introduce the peer review, not only for OCA things, but for your development flows. If you don't do this peer review, reviewing, you are losing a lot of successful possibilities. And you will have to attend and you will raise your maintenance costs, because things that are only tested by one person can be deployed to the production database find another problem, or this not solve at all the problem, and so on. And you have to do a lot of development cycles that can be solved if you would do the review. So think also about this when you are developing. So as said, we need at least 2 reviews and 5 days. Why that 5 days? Well, you can do lobby or not, but review this very quick. Maybe the reviewers have also oversight something on the PR. So that 5 days term assures you that is reviewed by more eyes. Another possibility is that 3 persons review the pull request inside or before that 5 days. Well, having 3 reviews is enough to say to make sure that this is okay. And as said, PSC can decide if this can go what we call it the fast tracking way for having this as soon as possible. And as I have done here, I have merged this in 2 days instead of waiting for more reviews. Okay, so code review, you have file change tab for reviewing the changes. This is, of course, requires to know about Python or the language that is going to be fixed. You know that we also have JavaScript and also QWeb templating language. That is something of Odoo itself, but it can be considered as a language. So you have to know about that for making a code review. But if you are not able to do that code review, you have the functional review possibility. How? If we go to the bottom part, we have here the several checks. These checks, if everything is green, it's great because it means that the automatic checks have passed. We will see later what happens if this is not the case. So, but let's focus right now on this step. I have unfold this, and we have runbot. Runbot is for trying functional the things that introduce this pull request. So if I go to details, I have here the summary for this build and a blue button. Maybe this blue button doesn't exist because the instance has expired. It's very old, and we need to do garbage collector. So maybe it's not here. But if the button is not here, you have here another button. I think it's red that put force review. You click on that button, and a new instance is triggered. You need to wait for the build that takes about 20 minutes, and you will see again refreshing the blue button. Click on that blue button. I don't know why it's dragging the button. It takes a bit time. Runbot is very heavy loaded. Let's see. How is for now the talk? It's serving you. I need to go faster in these topics. Tell me some feedback. No feedback, okay. I'm going to access the runbot. This runbot is auto-populated database instance of Odoo with the changes on the pull request. Email admin and password admin allows us to access and it takes some time. Here it is. So we can try here about the questioning being treated. So here we can put this. The problem is that if I add a section and some global discounts that I don't have anyone, so we have to put one, some of this. Well, the problem was this one, that adding a section, it leads us to a problem. So right now, if we try, there is no problem. So it has fixed the problem we had previously. So we can go back to the PR and say, approve it, but a functional review. Sometimes it's not easy to also to functional review because you have to know all the steps, but it's the way to make sure that this is going to work. So it's worth to do both things, functional and code review when possible. There is also more contribution possibilities that doesn't require to code. The last one is about the translations. Translation is also an important part for having a localized Odoo instance. So each module now includes a batch for, if we access one of the modules, we can see in its README about this batch. Weblet translate me. If we click there, it leads us to our Weblet instance. It's auto-hosted, so self-hosted, sorry. So we have this Weblet that is also open source, self-hosted, and under this domain, translation, Odoo community, ORG. So here we have the specific URL, clicking on the badge for this project, this module, and this version. So we can directly jump to translate this in our language, for example, Spanish. And here we can translate this interface. You need to get used also to this one, but it's not too much complicated. If you go to, let's go to translate, and then put the same mode, it's very easy to see each of the strings and translate them. So you have to request first for being a translator of the language you want. So it's very simple. You only have to do once. Write to, I think, translate at Odoo community. You can see here. So instead of talking, I'll have it here. Translate. Okay, so here you have the instructions. Write through here to Transbot, and Rebecca or someone from the board will add you to the translator group. And from that point, you are able to translate across all OCA any of the modules. Okay, so this is also another kind of contribution that you can do. But a warning about this, you also need some skills to do, especially to know Odoo, because it's very important to translate on the topic context, or to be homogeneous on the translation you are doing. So please don't translate blindly, and take a bit of context where something is used, because it's not the same. You know that English have some words that can be translated on many ways on your language, and not all the ways are suitable for this translation, this specific translation. So translated is also a very responsible task. It's usual to say translation is the most simple one. Well, it's more or less easy, but you have to take that into account. You have some tools on Weblate itself, because you have, for example, this context, similar words on the same module have been translated this way. You also have the possibility of a glossary, so you can put on that glossary all the words that want to be translated on a specific way, and you have another translation tools inside Weblate. But please don't translate blindly. Okay. So this is about the initial contribution possible flows. Not sure if you have any question before continuing with the other main topic, migrating a module, that is a specific but usual flow of code contribution. Okay, can translation be handled with POW files? That no, Ives, I'm reading your comment. Technically, it can be done. You can make a pull request changing a PO, but it has several problems, technical and flow ones. Technical, because imagine you have proposed a translation that is being translated at the same time on Weblate. We will have there a conflict, and your pull request is unitary, is everything or nothing. You can split as on Weblate things, because in Weblate you can translate. We have here 55 strings, and we can translate only 10. That 10 will be pushed to the repository, and you can continue tomorrow for the rest. On pull request is all or nothing, and it doesn't make sense to make a pull request with the first 10, then another with the following ones, and so on. So we have that technical problem, but also a flow one. We want to focus translation here because you have these tools. So it's not doing from the PO directly. You don't have these tools that can serve you for detecting bad translations. What you can do? Well, on Weblate itself, you can import. I think you need to be some kind of elevated user, but you have some tool for importing things. Not sure. You need to know Weblate, and I think there is possibility of export, data export, but also to import. Not sure how to do it right now, but there is that possibility. So this translated. Here it is. Files upload translation. You can upload a PO, but the difference is that this will have some checks performed before uploading definitively, and you can also compare things on live. So if you have your PO, use Weblate for upload it. Okay, anything more?
Pedro, there's a question on OCB.
Yeah.
Pierre asks you about bug fixes to core Odoo, and there used to be OCB. Is that still on?
Okay, well, OCB is a special case that we handle inside OCA. There are some special projects that doesn't fit inside the PSCs that I have commented, that are OpenAgrade and OCB. That is not pinned here, so I'm going to pin it. I can do it. as I'm not from for the in the board now, I don't have that right. Daniel, please do it.
I can do that. Yes.
Yeah, pin that repository because it's important. The two special projects have a very specific focus. Talking specifically about OCD, the aim of this is to provide a long-term support, more or less, about branches that are not attended by Odoo itself. I'm not very agree with that way of working in general in the Odoo ecosystem, because you should push to have the latest version. And that's why we have open upgrade for allowing you to migrate to later versions. But sometimes there is the need of pushing a fix to a version that is not maintained by Odoo. Right now, we have on Odoo version 14, version 13, and version 12 as maintained ones. So version 11 is not maintained anymore. Imagine you are still on version 11. You plan to migrate or not, but you have a very huge performance problem that has been solved by an index, by something that is feasible to be backported. You can do it under OCB, and you will benefit for having this in community instead of patching each of your 11 installations. So this is here. Why is not very used right now? Well, this is an accumulation of factors. First, Odoo is listening more to community pull requests, so they are merging things quickly and on Odoo core itself, so no need to put it exclusively on OCB. And the other factor is that integrators are seeing that the right strategy is to migrate instances. At least in a cycle of 2, 3, 4 versions, each one has its strategy. But it's not a good strategy to stay on lower versions. It has a lot of problems that I'm not going to summarize and open that debate. But it's a trend. People is migrating more and more to upper versions. So there's no need of maintaining that. Another focus of this project is to patch things that Odoo hasn't affected. The stability policy in Odoo is very strict, and is because of something. You cannot change database structure, for example, which is very reasonable. You cannot change public APIs, signatures, and so on. So sometimes there is things, patches that are not merged on the version, the current version, but on the master one that will be the next version, and you want it in this version. This is a very debatable point because not everything can be affected here. You cannot change the same database structure, public signature, or so on, but you can change some logic according to that fix. It's not very usual, but we have done these things on the past. My company has done, and everyone is open to do it. But you have to think twice if that change is going to be affected because of this stability policy. We cannot diverge OCB from Odoo in its compatibility layer. For example, some people have talked about changing a method for adding a new argument for taking into account another thing. You cannot do that because a module, a third-party module that is using that method will work only with OCB or only with Odoo. but not both. So it's not easy that something of this nature will be merged. But there are some legit cases. We can see on the merge pull request. Let's see this one, for example. This one comes from a patch that I made in the past for Odoo. Look, they have screwed up this. They have an SQL that is not fully qualified. No, this one is not mine. There is another. Let me check. This one is mine. I propose to Odoo this, which is fully qualifying the SQL for not having ambiguous columns. If you have in the table on core, there is no overlap of names, but it can be adding some modules. So this is totally legit to put in this version, but Odoo don't consider this. They delay until 13 version to put this. So it's legit, and this college from Italia understood this way to put it. So he took my patch and proposed it to OCD. And this patch was effective. This is not affecting functionality nor changing any signature, only allowing to not have the crash when you install that module that adds a column that is ambiguous. So there is valid cases for applying patches here in OCD. Okay? So I hope this explanation serves for you. Any other doubt?
I think you're good to continue.
Okay, perfect.
Now
let's.
You have okay, you fix it. Thank you.
I put the chat box on top for reading the chat. So that's the black box you see. It's very privacy concern, this Zoom tool. So let's go for a live migration. This is very, very risky because I haven't tried yet anything, but let's try to migrate something and at least to follow the standard steps for doing these usual tasks that we have on OCA. So I'm going to go for a simple one that is the infamous partner fax module. Okay, this one is very easy, so no possibility of failing. And this one adds the fax field because Odoo decided to remove it. Well, it's very wild to still in the 21st century to use the fax, but it's sometimes a need. So we have this module that restores the field fax and put it on the contact form. So let's migrate it. What is my tool set? Let's see. Yeah, I can make it a bit higher for you to see it better. My tool set for developing in general and for migrating is Visual Studio Code, VS Code. I use VS Code. I have tried PyCharm in the past, Eclipse, and so on. And finally, I'm using in VS Code as a good balance into tools, flows, and so on. This is a matter of opinion. So each one uses their IDE, even B. So I'm going to explain with this tool. Another tool set is Dudba. Dudba is a creation of Tecnativa, an R&D task that it has taken us a lot of time, but it summarizes all the needed flows for development, staging, and production environment. So it's the unified way we develop and also deploy things. Right now, I have a Dubai scaffolding for 14 version already prepared. That is out of the scope to prepare in this talk. And another tool set that I use is Fish. Fish is a shell command interpreter, and it's very useful because it's auto-completion features and other possibilities. So it's going to be very easy for me to perform the migration doing the following. I put a variable with set, and this variable is going to be the name of the module. And now let's go to the migration guide. We have a wiki on maintainer tools for migrating to version 14. This one summarizes all the usual things that we can find on our migration. This is not all, and this is fed by newer discoveries. I have put some of the changes, but there can be more. These are framework changes, not model-related changes. That is something that has arisen on the library to migrate. You cannot reflect here all the changes that this field has changed its name, this model disappears, this model appears, because it's very huge. Here, what we put some is framework changes. For example, there is no more the possibility to put this XML tag. So you have to put the full record tag. This is a framework change. So it's reflected here for you to take it into account when you are migrating things. Okay, and let's go to the technical way. This technical way put the command you have to put about Git. You require some Git knowledge. We try to put here all the steps, but if you get a problem in one of these, you will have to introspect to see the problem. So right now, I'm only needing this one. I have already the module downloaded. I have already my corresponding branch. So I'm only needing that. And this is for what Fish is very useful. I type any part of the command line, and with the arrows keys, I can search for commands that contain that part. So for me, it's very simple. Right now, I only need to change these origin branches. But the module, if you see, the command is the same because I'm using a variable. So this variable makes me to not needing to change the whole command. So if I do this, I get the full history. This step is for preserving the commit history. Why? Because when we create the new version branches, like 14 branches that was created by Stefan last week, we empty for most of the repositories, not all, but for most, we empty the branches. Why? Because if not, it's very difficult to stay up to date everything in between branches. Imagine we start from the current 13 version branch, and in 13 version there is a pull request for improving the module that you are migrating. That pull request is migrated, but when you want to migrate the module, what you have in your branch is the outdated 13 version. So at the end, you need to apply the diff, the diff between 13 and 14 branch. So instead of doing that half, and to have possible conflicts, let's bring the whole history at once. So this is what is done with this command. And you can see here, let's maximize. You can see here each of the commits that are on the 13 branch concerning this module. This is the step that we have done here. Now let's apply this task to migrate. The first one that I'm going to focus, this is optional, but I want to I like to do this one because it allows you to clean the commit history. You can see here that there are some administrative commits. For example, when we migrate to version 13, an administrative commit was created here for adding the pod file, the translation, the master translation file. This one is derived from this, and it doesn't make too much sense to have it in this history split. So I'm going to do this command. I'm going to make an interactive rebase for adjusting this commit history. This is explained in in this wiki entry, merge commit in pull request. Okay, here you have an explanation, but basically I have made a git rebase. So now I can do some of the squashing. Actually, it's not a squash, but fish up. Fish up, what makes? Well, for example, this one that is bumping the version number to this one belongs, in fact, to the pull request that was making that change. So we only need to merge together, and this text is not worth to be kept. So we fish up instead of squashing. If I save this, the rebase is done, and right now we have the version boom here. So we don't need to do anything more. What can we do also? We can fish up these ones. And we can also fish up this one. I know about this, so it's very easy for me to know this. And I have also a modification over the interactive rebasing that is a preference in Git for showing the author of the commit. So it's easy for me to detect the administrative commits that are done by OCA Travis, OCA Transport, also OCA Gitbot. These ones are very easy to be detected. Okay, so this one is not correct at all, but I'm going to do the pre-commit is done before the migration. But let's keep it that way. Another one that we can, but this is very fine-tuned. You can see here that Luis Felipe started the translation and then continue it, and maybe overwriting some terms. For the attribution, it's not needed to keep both. We can merge as the attribution is going to be kept. This is going to be attributed to Luis Felipe, the same, but it's not going to be split in several commits. That doesn't work to be that way. So if we do, now we have a very clean commit history. Okay. So now that we have that, let's start migrating the module. We need to bump version module to the one that is set that. We can see here, both module version, remove any possible migration script. This one is if we have migration folders that are all scripts. It's not the case because we have already that, well, there is something that I had to do before that I have. Let's reset. Maybe the pre-commit changes something. we have a new pre-commit versions for black and so on that maybe they are doing some of automated changes. These automated changes intend to make homogeneous the code and make it automatically for you. You don't have to worry about that. So if you see on the technical steps, you have to do that step. Okay? It's as you can see, it's important to follow this guide as a checklist because also I have migrated tons of modules. I can forget any of the steps. So it's important to always have this in mind for following these steps. Right now, this is preparing the environment. This is only the first time. So it takes some time, but next time is going to be quicker. Let's wait. I cannot do anything more because if so, the environment is going to be dirty. Well, I can open right now my at least this, and I will explain later what is that. I should these things should be done before for not waiting, but okay, it's now here, so we don't have to wait more. Right now, we have some warnings because the checks are done for version 14, but the important thing is if we have any diff. So pre-commit doesn't change anything in this module. There is no change needed for version 14. If you are migrating from version 12 to version 13, you will find for sure differences because in version 12, there is no automatic code formatting by black, prettier, and so on. And on version 13, there is. But migrating from version 13 to 14, there is not too much changes because we only have bumped the black version, pretty version, and so on. And there is very few changes on that. And in this case, no change. So we don't need to commit anything because there is no changes. So that's good. That's good. Let's continue again with the steps to migrate a module. That is to put the version that is correct and make the changes for making this work. I have chosen this one because it's very simple. It only adds in the model one field and it added on the view. So there is not too much possibility for failing. What is going to be my test? Well, my test is going to be to install the module and see if Odoo complains about anything in the views. I also use fixed variables, and I have my command, do a specific command for installing the module. Well, not very specific. This part is specific, let's say, and this one is the Odoo command line. So I start the Docker instances and install my module in a populated version 14 instance. If it installed correctly, it will be mostly there because at least it installed. The only step to check if everything is correct is to up the environment to use it. Okay. This one is because I haven't added another Dupa specific thing. I haven't added the repository partner contact. Here it is, and I say all the Not sure if the syntax is that one. Let's check it. I need to add to my environment. No, the command is not correct. This one. Okay. So we have very quick the feedback about this. And basically, I'm adding all the possible partner contact modules to my environment. As said, that one is a DUTBA specific one. What is not specific is that this view is not correct. I have tried to install, but this view has changed. So we need to adapt the view to this one. Let's see what it's saying. It's saying that this view doesn't exist anymore. Okay. View partner short for. This one is not existing. So let's go right now to simply remove it for continuing and see if we have a workable solution. It's not for migrating the module completely. We need to check if that one has been replaced by another or so. But now we have the module installed without error. Next step is to up the environment, make it work, and to functionally testing if everything is good. So this is the DUTBA command, well, DUTBA Docker compose command for putting the environment working. And now I open my local Odoo 14 instance to check if it's correct or not. So I go to contacts, and I expect to find here a fax field. And also, let's check each of the views. This one is putting the fax on the simple form. I believe this one is here. No, that one is not the simple one. Not sure. Yeah, I think, how can I go to that one? Maybe from users. Sometimes this one is doesn't have any error, but we don't know where it is located. So we need to find out where it is. So I think that one is this. No, this one is opening also the complete one. Well, it's one that is open sometimes from one of the views. We right now we are going to rely that as it's not failing, this one is adding correctly, or maybe yes, because this one is adding after the job position. So I think it's this one. How can we be sure? Putting the developer mode and seeing which for is this one. No, this one is the view partner for is this one. The simple one is not called right now. Okay, let's see about the one that I have removed. I have removed the view partner short form. Is this one replaced by any one, or what is happening? I'm thinking that maybe the short form is this one. We access here and we access. Yeah, this one is the simple form. Okay, so we have it right now. We know it, which one it is. The simple form is this one. Okay, so we can see here that the fax is included as well. And this one is for the simple. And there is another that is called short form. For this kind of migration, I use the previous version of Odoo. So I look in version 13 for that XML ID. I goes to it. Maybe this one to be on Odoo itself. Yeah, here it is. So this is on the views of this module. So it's logical to think that this the equivalent views will be there on Odoo itself Where is Odoo? Odoo is not here. It's sorted at the end, I think. Okay, here it is. Odoo, add-on space, views, and REST partner views. So in this one, we don't have the short, but the simple. So there is a replacement for it. Let's put it that way, and let's put it that way. So we can search for this one. And this one seems to be totally removed. They don't need that sort for in version 13. There was this one, but not in version 13. So it's safe to simply remove that override because it's not needed. I think we have it. As I said, it's very simple, but it illustrates more or less the flow. Depending on the module difficulty and modification, it will be more complicated to migrate a module. But basically, you need to do that. I will try in the rest of the time to migrate a more complicated module with tests. But let's finish this one. Now, what we have to do, we need, this is optional, but also interesting to generate the new README. This is a tool that we have had as maintainer tools that you can install it locally and that assists you to generate this README, because this README is auto-generated. How? Well, you put the real content here in the README folder, and this tool takes that content to create the whole README file with all the brackets and so on, and taking into account the branch, the module name, the repo, and so on. So I pre-generated for having already in my migration commit. Okay, so with these changes that are very few, but there it is, we have the module working for version 13. So I commit my module. Look, again, Fish helping me in doing that. And here it is. There is no pre-commit. Let's see. There is no pre-commit error. So everything correct. And now I have to, this is all done in local. So I need to put it on GitHub. So first step, well, I haven't remembered to make this the new that one. I haven't created a specific branch. I'm doing right now, no problem. And now I'm going to push it to my organization GitHub repository. I'm doing it. And now the GitHub itself throws as answer a link here for proposing the pull request. We can do it from this link, or we can go to our fork. This is partner contact of OCA, so I can type here my fork or click on fork and click on the proper organization or individual. So here he's saying that also for helping me, GitHub put this banner saying you have made some changes, but even if you don't have this, you can go to your branch, 14 MIG partner facts, and propose here a pull request. I think the button is not appearing because it's here on top. So there is a button appears here for comparing and pull request. that is not this banner. Having that, we can compare partner contact with why there is nothing to compare. Something, it seems something, okay, yeah. Where we want to put this is on the 14 branch. For this, the default branch is important, yeah, because the default target branch that appears is the default one, but it's very easy to be changed, as you can see. I put 14, and now we can see the commit history, the one that we have brought here, and my commit doing the migration. So now we can press the create pull request. Please put the commit in this case the pull request title correctly. Why? Because as there are several commits, GitHub takes the decision to put the title as the branch name without dots and slashes. So we put that, and even put some comment. We can put a standard procedure explaining what I have done. Remove view. Not non-existing upstream. Not existing anymore. Upstream. That's are the changes I have done. So I can put that, and we have. Well, this is a code of my team that we can use the search of. We can put in searches involves Nativa. So all the pull requests that we have used this will be searched with this. So you can use for your team or your individual also this if you want. That is a specific thing. And we have another trick with TT that is for a special task codification. Live from OCA Days. Let's put this OCA Days talk. So now we have that that pull request. I can put also the milestone and create a pull request. So now the pull request, those that are subscribed to the repository will receive a mail, a notification saying that there is a new pull request. As the pull request title is okay, all people will know that this is the migration of the module partner facts. So they can jump in and say, it's okay, no, it's not okay, approve, not approve. We have also a collecting issue for all the migration tasks. Let's pin this one. So now this appears at the top. So we can say here, I have migrated partner facts in this one. PSC maintainers can then add in this list editing and say partner facts by Pedro Baeza and the reference. So you don't duplicate, you don't overlap work because you haven't looked for existing pull requests. This one tries to summarize, but it requires manual maintenance. I have a proposal in maintainer tools.
Pedro?
And tell me.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Simone. No, just to tell you that you have 10 minutes left. So just consider this if you want an extended question and answer session. Okay.
There is another talk after mine.
No, we have the break. So if you go over by a bunch of minutes, that's not an issue at all.
Okay, if people wants to support me for more time, well, it's support is not a translation. To
let's see. Let's see if
extend me for more time. I don't have any hurry. I can continue.
okay. Okay. Good.
So
Go ahead
people
then.
tell me.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, the main explanation is almost done. The rest is questions that people have, or migrating a more complicated module. Okay, so that's the roadmap here. So let me finish this. That is only saying that I have a tool for generating here the migration. Where it is? Well, there are efforts for having that migration issue maintenance. I don't know where it is. Well, the idea is at the pull request to emit a command that is OCA bot. I know where the problem. This is not in maintenance tools, but in OCA bot 1. Let me go with bot OCA GitHub bot. Here it is, my proposal. The idea is to be able that a PSC put migration partner packs. So with this easy command, the issue is auto-maintained doing this change that I have made right now manually. But it should be a PSC, the one that makes this. Okay, so this is yet not migrated. There are some divergences about the things that are needed to be done. So right now it's not, but in the future, the PSC will be able to use this. Meanwhile, please put a comment and a PSC that maintains this. Okay, so now the CIs are being done. We have the Rambot for trying functionally, at the same as I have tried locally, and we have the Travis CI. What is this? These are automatically checks that are performed on code quality and code correction. This correction is the source of this is from tests that you have added to your module. This one doesn't have any test. It doesn't require any because you cannot test to add a field. Is added or not? You cannot test any other thing. But when you implement modules with some business logic, you want to check that business logic is working correctly. For that, you have the tool of Python test, Python Odoo test. So Travis run that test and make sure that everything is correct. Not only for your module, but for the whole repository, because maybe your module is breaking another module. So everything is checked, and if this is red, you have to check what is happening. Okay, so basically this is a module migration, very short and very simplified, but I think it explains more or less a flow. And now let me know any questions, general question about anything you have or the things that I have commented. And then if you want to continue, we can migrate a more difficult one like base location. I have in mind base location that contains some logic and so on. So now I'm open to questions. I see from, I suppose, Raul Martin, that is saying, what about running tests, not only of the OCA repo, but also from others? Well, that's physically impossible, okay? It would be great to check the 2000 OCA modules together to see if there is any incompatibility. But it's not feasible because the time needed and the sure conflicts that will arise merging all together. So if you propose something that is not consuming 20 hours for each test, we are all open.
Yeah, exactly. Pedro, if may I add something? You're gonna recognize if something is broken in another repository only if the pull request is merged and the build on the other repository runs, or if you open another pull request on the other repository to pull the same code that the pull request is adding. That's the only way so far.
Yeah. For this, the solution is to prevent. There are very risky things we can do on Odoo. So let's avoid that risky things. There are on the guidelines, most of the guidelines seems arbitrary, but the guidelines are intended for avoiding this kind of incompatibility things. For example, a guideline is to not remove any element from any view. If you need to remove between quotes, hide it instead of doing position replace. For example, this way you are not preventing that other module that use that element for positioning that doesn't find this element. So these kind of guidelines are intended for assuring a good compatibility. Anyway, in a modular system, it's barely impossible to always have 100% of trust that anything is not going to collapse with other things.
Yeah, and also, I mean, code reviews are also for this. Like, imagine that you submit something and I jump in and I say, hey, Pedro, this might probably collide with something else. It's better if you also open an integration pull request on the other side, and you can mitigate that. But yeah, it's quite hard to, if you don't know it by heart, all the 2,000 and more modules, is going to be hard beforehand.
Exactly. On my code reviews, that's what I look for. When I do a code review, on my team, they always say, hey, you are reviewing these and asking questions without checking more. Yes, because my code review is quick, but looking for red alerts. There are some red alerts that triggers my eye catch because they are probably conflicting. That doesn't mean that they are conflicting at the end, but at least it raises my alert to put here, why are you doing this? And why am I doing this question? Because it's not clear from the code. And this enters on the good developer practice area. Python is self-explaining, yes. Python is a very declarative programming language and so on. But you don't have to comment, what are you doing? You have to comment, why are you doing something? That's the difference. It's not the same to put a comment saying, I call the method to post the invoice. And that's saying, I need to post the invoice before calling super because if not, the move is not checked. For example, that comment explaining the why is the most important thing. It's only one line. You put invoice,
and especially for your future self, because in 1 month from now, you're not going to remember why you did it.
So when you find something that is going to be not very clear, please put in advance a comment saying why. So when people like me doing code review won't ask you, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other question?
It seems no. I don't know how to react to this. It has been very clear. People is now dead in their in their chairs.
Okay, so now Pierre says he got the answer. In any case, we have the rooms on Discord. If you have more questions, so you can get there on the track 1 trainings and ask more questions. Feel free also to ping anyone in the general or Pedro directly if there is something specific to what Pedro said. And that's it. So let's keep the discussion ongoing somewhere else.
Perfect. So, do you want to continue with that migration? I don't know if it's going to be feasible in a reasonable time, because that one can contain logic that has been changed, and I estimate half an hour, 45 minutes. So you tell me.
Well, here we should have a break, and then we have another talk in less than half an hour at 2 p.m. So probably
okay, so let's do one thing. Each of you that are there, please migrate one module and tell me any question you have in that migration. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds a good idea. Okay, yeah, that's the plan.
Perfect.
Okay, cool.
So thanks everyone for attending me, and I hope this served you some tips and tricks. So see you around in GitHub and the rest of the social channels, Discord and so on.
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. Thanks a lot for your talk, and thank everybody for being here. See you around.
See you.
Bye-bye.